Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Chris and today's video is the July book haul. Now I do have less books this month than I had previously in June, with 33 I believe. A few of those are collections of ebooks, but we'll get through them pretty quickly. I've got a fairly decent split of ebooks versus physical books, and I think only one audiobook in there for this month. I do enjoy reading ebooks, which is why I do purchase so many, and I'm going to start off with those. So like I said, we have a pretty even split. I think there's something like 14 ebooks to go through, including collections, and then about 17 physical books as well. Jumping right into the ebooks. The first one that I purchased was a short story or novelette called Hypercage. This is a prequel to Instant Reality Arvect, or Instant Reality 1 is a series name and Arvect was book 1, and I read that one for the Indie Accords. This one is also a cyberpunk techno thriller, but 47 pages long, and I'm interested to see what this achieves in those 47 pages. The second one that I picked up was Godless Lands. This is by Sean Crow. Now, the cover of this book speaks to me, and the second book was recently released, and I picked this one up for fairly cheap on Kindle. This book promises to be dark, and I do enjoy me a dark tale, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one at some point. The next one I picked up on ebook was Amarah. That is book 3 in the world of Lunaria by L.L. McRae. I've since got my physical copy, but because they look so nice and I really don't want to break those spines, I know, I am a spine breaker, but if I have the ebook, I don't have to break any spine. Moving right along, I have purchased Dragon's Blight. This is by Damien Teller, and the book is Oakenfall Chronicle Book 1. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I saw this book, or this author, in some sort of convention setting over on the Epic Indie Facebook page, and I thought, hey, that looks like a series that I might enjoy. So I went ahead and picked up book number 1, and he was one of my shout-outs for the indie picks of the month of July. Moving right along, we have my audiobook for the month, and that is Town Under. That's right, Town Under. What a play on words that is, for the System Apocalypse Australia, book number 1. Now, I'm interested in this author for a couple of reasons. There is a series called The System Apocalypse written by one of these authors, which is a literary RPG that I'm very, very interested in. And this is a sub-series of that, specifically related to Australia. So, I'm from Australia. I thought that the title of the book was funny. I'm very intrigued by this literary RPG. I already had the ebook, and I picked up the audio for about $3 when I saw it on sale. So looking forward to listening to this one. I have no idea when I'm going to get to it, but I'm interested in this whole literary RPG, both the original and this subset of it. Now, jumping back to L.L. McRae, I also picked up the Kouzlo series. Kouzlo? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm very, very sorry if you ever watch this. But this is the urban fantasy series currently available on her website. I've picked up the e-version, and I got books 1 to 4 for an absolute steal. And this series starts off with book number 1, Crimson Eyes, which looks like this. I'm looking forward to getting to this one. I just don't know when that is going to be, because I am very interested in the world of Lunaria. First, finishing up the 4 books that are currently out, and then jumping into the Iron Crown. Moving right along from there, I purchased both Wolf Eater and The Scars of Jorn Redclaw. These are by Anthony Mitchell. Wolf Eater has been on my radar for a little while now, and I've heard some very good things in the circles of indie book readers, and the newest release was The Scars of Jorn Redclaw, so I picked up both. The next one I picked up, and also another indie author shout out, is In Solitude's Shadow by David Green. This was another one that had a book come out quite recently, a book number 2, and I saw book 1, I believe it's another urban fantasy, and thought, yeah, I'd like to give that a go. The cover, I will be completely honest, didn't necessarily speak to me, but having a look at the premise, I am pretty intrigued. The next one I grabbed, now I desperately want the hardcover of this book, but it is so friggin' expensive to get it to Australia, so I settled for the e-version. I will read it and hope that I love it, and if I do, then put the money in to get the copy of this book that I want, and that is Legacy of the Brightwash by Crystal Mata. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly again. This book has reviews that say it ripped their hearts out, and I don't mind a bit of devastation. on occasion. I saw a collaborative video with this author over on Taylor's channel from Made Between the Pages, and I really liked their vibe and their style and how they talked about their book. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into this one, and like I said, if it's as good as people have said it is, then I will probably be purchasing that hardback edition. The next two that I've picked up over on ebook are both box sets. The first one is the Tales of Gorania by Karam Solomon. Book 1 is The Warrior's Path. Now, you might have heard of this author because Army of the Cursed is going around at the moment and people are reviewing it over on the indie fantasy scene, which is great, and I have heard some people say they wish they had read Karam's earlier works first, so I've picked up the first box set for this story, and I hope to dive into it sometime soon. Now, the next block of 3 books I picked up were from Andrew D. Meredith, and this was books 1 to 3 in the Kallattian Cycle, starting with Bonds of Promise. Now, he released 3 books earlier in July, and then we'll release another 3 later in November of this year. These are all really short books. They're about 200 pages each, sort of in that same sort of, I guess, episodic style, I believe. I don't actually know if that was what was intended, but they're very short, palatable books, and I can't wait to jump into this series at some point. And if I really like it, hey, it's not very long to wait until the next 3 books come out. 2 more ebooks before we jump into the physical pile. One of them is Curse of the Fallen by H.C. Newell. Now, this author got in touch with me while I was away, actually, with Rachel, and said, hey, I've noticed that you review books. I think you might like my book, and it's currently free on Amazon. So I said, hey, I'll go check it out. I read the premise. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and I picked this one up. And I also ordered book number 2, which I believe came out a couple of days ago. I'll put a picture of book 2 here. I think it's called The Forgotten Realms, and it's got a similar cover but different colors, and it's just as stunning. The next one that I had is Throne of Darkness. So this is my last ebook before we jump into that pile of books next to me. And Throne of Darkness is written by Spencer Russell Smith. This is another author that I've discovered over on epicindie.net. And yeah, just enjoy my interactions that I've had with this author so far. Has a new book out, which looks like this, and I'm looking forward to getting to that at some point and trying their work out. Okay, those are the ebooks. Let's jump into the physical books. The first 2 that I want to mention I actually got in the month of June, but I forgot to put in that book haul. The first one is Blink of the Sun. This is by Ross Kingston. This is the Triumvirate series, book number 1. There is a prequel novella series called Kimono, and I believe I have a bookmark for Kimono. The artwork on this prequel novella series is next level. It's so gorgeous, and I will be reading those first before I jump into this one, but I asked my friend to pick this one up for me when he went to Supernova, as Ross Kingston had a bench there, so I grabbed that one. Another book that came out of that convention is We Run Tomorrow. This is by Nat Amore and Mike Barry, who did the art. This is a little bit different for me. This one is a kid's book, and it's part comic and part story. So I don't know when I'm going to get to this one, but let's find some artwork. I'll show you a bit of the artwork that we have inside, and because it's a kid's book, it's going to be a fairly quick read. I'm not opposed to reading and reviewing children's books. It's just not something that I do very often, but looking forward to getting to that one at some point in the near future. Or distant future, I don't know. Okay, we are going in reverse order from how I bought these because that's how they are layered in the box. The next one I'm going to mention is my starting point, my chosen starting point into Warhammer 40k. This is the Founding. This is the Gaunt's Ghosts Omnibus Book 1, and this has 3 stories in it, I believe. Yes, so this one has, the Founding has First and Only, Ghostmaker, and Necropolis. Now, I've had a look at the second one of these omnibuses, and it's like $200. I think I picked this one up for under $30, so I don't know that I will be spending $200 on the next one, but if I like these, then the ebooks are only about $10 each, so I can continue on the ebook route if I so choose. But I'm interested in the military sci-fi. I'm just interested to see if I like Warhammer at all. It was either this one, or it was either starting with this or Xenos, which is written by the same author. So if you are Warhammer fans, let me know. Is this the right place to start? Because there are like a million books out, but I have heard that that's not a bad starting point. The next one that I have is from Alec Hudson. This is the Umbral Storm, and this book was much bigger than I initially thought it was, and that's going to be fairly glary in that light. This is one of my Spiffbo 8 picks. It's on my Spiffbo 8 TBR. I've heard a lot of good things about Alec Hudson, and I can't wait to jump into this one. If I like it, there is a full trilogy that I can also pick up if I like their writing. The next book I have is the winner of the SPSFC competition that happened last year, and the winner was The Iron Truth by S.A. Tholen. So this is likely going to be a sci-fi September read for me if anybody wants to jump along and read the winner of this competition. Pretty cool cover. The back is a little bit hard to read from just the design choices there. So I really have no idea what this book is about, but I'm looking forward to jumping into that one, probably in September. Next up I have a horror. This is Hide by Kiersten White. Now, I don't talk about horror a whole lot on this channel. I mainly stick in that fantasy sphere with a little bit of sci-fi popped in, but I do enjoy horror quite a lot. I am an absolute sucker for a horror in a carnival setting or like a theme park setting, and I've got a Ferris wheel on there, which makes me very, very excited. This book is also fairly short at just over 230 pages, and I want to show you some of the maps in here. So we've got an amusement park map that has been graffitied, and we've got the blood red text, foil text on the hardback there. So looking forward to getting into this one. I believe this will be a pretty easy spooky season pick for me. Moving right along, I have been bullied by the booktube community. No, not really. But I have picked up Swang Song by Robert McCammon. I've seen a lot of this book going around, starting off with Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, and then more and more people are picking it up and loving it and comparing it to The Stand, saying that it is a pretty good comparison. I loved The Stand. It's probably one of my favorite books of all time and will continue to be because of how epic it is in nature. So I'm excited to get to Swang Song at some point. I know my dad also wants to read it because he was a big lover of The Stand as well. But boy, oh boy, is this a chonk. We are pretty close to 1,000 pages in that book there. So that may be a contender for spooky season. I'm not sure. It is pretty large. Next up, we have The Flames of Mira by Clay Harmon. I have to admit, the cover got me for this one. Just that fiery fist in the air. This is book 1 of the Rift Walker series. Author's pretty active over on Instagram, which is nice to see, with fans and new readers alike. Got a pretty cool map in there, and I really just wanted the hardcover on my shelf. So I believe this will be one that is pretty high up on my list for new release November. If anyone wants to read it with me, let me know. Moving right along, we have The Final Strife by Sarah El Arifi. This is a book which has a trans main character. There's a lot of LGBTQIA plus representation. It's being celebrated, and it's not really a thing that people are umming and ahhing about or worried about in this book. To my knowledge, I've heard very, very good things about this by both Roger over at Roger Reads and Joshana. I'll put their channels down below as always, and I'm really looking forward to getting to something that may be a little bit lighter than a lot of the dark tastes that I have. So picking that one up probably in new release November as well, and giving that one a go. I've got 7 books to go, 2 traditionally published, which I'll go through now, and then the rest are all self-pub. First one of these is The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. Theo over at Rekindled Reader has been the one to convince me that I need to pick this up. I do like historical fiction. I have liked it in the past, but I've not read an Arthurian retelling yet. So I have picked up The Winter King with thoughts of picking up books 2 and 3, so that's Enemy of God and Excalibur if I like that one. The next one that I picked up is Jim Butcher's Steampunk series. This is the Aeronaut's Windlass, which is the Cinder Spires book number 1. I'm very interested in anything that's not Dresden, written by Jim Butcher, and whilst I do plan on continuing the Dresden Files series with book number 3, I want to try something else as well, and I have the first book in the Codex Alera series here somewhere, and I also now have this one. I believe he's currently working on book 2 of this series, because this came out a few years ago, and I really like steampunk, so I'll jump into that one at some point. I don't know when. Alright, the remainder of these are all self-pub. The first one is another one on my Spiffbo 8 list that I want to get to, and this is A Song for the Void by Andrew C. Piazza. How cool is this cover? That red just pops. This is a historical fantasy horror, and all of those elements sound absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to read it. Bit of a shorter book, so looking forward to jumping into that one. Next up, we have The Broken Heart of Arelium. This is by Alex Robbins. This is War of the 12, Book 1. I believe there are 4 books currently out in this series, correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but all the covers are stunning. They're just excellent, so I will be continuing to buy this series, but I just wanted to give Book 1 a go first. Nice and short, just a little bit of a palette cleanser, and it may be my next palette cleanser series. Next, we have a beast of a book, and Leslie over at The Nerdy Narrative and Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads has convinced me to pick it up, and this is Book 1 of the Fishgut Guard, Nomads of the Sea. The more you look at this cover, the more glorious it is, right? I don't know why it's so intriguing. I do enjoy that people look at this and think that it's a romance novel because it gives off those vibes and the colours and this man who's like rugged and has scars and whatever. But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I'll give that one a go. But it is a big chonker of a book, so I'm not sure when. The last 2 I have is A Drowned Kingdom from P.L. Stewart. I saw this author's entry on Dominish Books channel when they were introducing the authors and the story. I've been really enjoying some fantasy with nautical elements, so I'm looking forward to getting into this one. And my friend over on Instagram, Bookish Austin, really enjoyed Book 1, so I am looking forward to getting to this one. And the last one I have is A Prelude to Ashes by Tiago Abdallah. The more I think about it, the more I enjoyed A Touch of Light. I think that the execution still didn't necessarily work for me, but I liked all the elements inside of it, so I am looking forward to reading this one. I have been told that this is absolutely excellent, particularly for a novella, so looking forward to reading that one. That may also be read in new release November as a quick little palette cleanser. There you have it. They're all the books that I purchased in the month of July. What did you pick up? What is your favourite purchase for the month? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if I have a problem. And if you want me to keep doing big book hauls or being like, Chris, friggin' stop, man. You're moving. You need to give it a rest. That's it from me. If you like the content, give it one of these. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.